to thank the Coastal Georgia Minority Chamber for the chance to explain my program and give a chance for the public to even consider some questions they may send in later or may do it now. I'd like for them to know I'm all about students, and I want to make sure that they understand that that's what we'll be concentrating on, what is better for the students in Liberty County, in particular those who are coming from District 2. We'll do all we can.
Yeah. All right, everybody. My name is LB Elm. We are back with another episode, an interview of The Inner Circle. I am here with Dr. Joe Kelly. He is Liberty County Board of Education, candidate for District 2, and we are so happy to have you here today. Dr. Joe Kelly, can you tell the people a little bit about yourself for those who may be unfamiliar with who you are?
All right, thank you very much. I have been in education for 51 years, spanning from working in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, working in every capacity and basically in administration, except superintendent. Worked in the central office, a couple of those down from the superintendent, of course, working programs in the community, business programs, and then the Pena Institution, trying to re-educate, bring other employees up to date on in math and in the language arts in order for them to promote themselves better for job opportunities and for promotion. And then, of course, when I started my career in education, I had two dynamic individuals as leaders in terms of principal and superintendent, and they encouraged me to make sure that I continue with my educational program. And I proceeded to go back to get the master's degree, the specialist degree, and the doctorate degree. So they really wanted you to do that and not sit around and wait on time. They want you to take advantage of every opportunity that you had to advance yourself. And I worked with several different areas in the school system. I primarily everything working with students in the guidance department and transportation. There was a time I even had to drive the bus because we did not have drivers. So
you had to drive the bus and teach?
Yeah, so we had back in that time you almost had to do everything. So it was different than it is now. But those were the requirements, and you had to do what you had to do in order to get students where they ought to be. So every area I pretty much worked. I coached an athletic director. I coached basketball and baseball. So those were my two primary sports. So we had good teams. I enjoyed it, and it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the middle school sports now, and what I think we ought to do. But I'll do that as you ask the question.
Right. So you've pretty much, like you just said, you've had your hand in every part of the school education system. What made you want to throw your hat into the political scene now? If I'm correct, this is the first time that you're running, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I've done some political things in South Carolina, but this is the first time in Georgia.
Okay.
I retired 3 years ago, and I just felt that I had a good bit to offer due to my experiences in education, 51 years, and I went through so many challenges. I went through the segregation process. I went through the integration process, and now we're in this multimedia spectrum. So I've gone through several different things we have done in education, and everything has been different, and it required some new thinking, new directions, and I felt that I had the expertise and the experience to add a good bit to the students' learning process and getting students and getting parents involved in the educational process, making it better for everyone.
Absolutely. So, I mean, like, you've had a span. I mean, a span. So, I know you said that you went through the integration process, you went through bringing new technology into the schools. What do you think now, in the position that you're running for, is necessary for parents, for students, and for the county?
Let me go back and explain there are four things I'm looking at particularly. Uh, the first thing, I want to make sure that we are starting early enough for students. What I find is that when students reach the middle school grade, they are behind, so many of them, in reading and math in particular.
Right.
And those are crucial areas, because when I work with the businesses and the communities on the in superintendent's office, those are the areas we concentrate in anyway. There's a lot to be learned from having advanced courses in those areas. So I feel when students reach the middle school area, for some reason it shows up more, because now students are more independent.
Mm-hmm.
The more independent you are, the more your weaknesses in certain areas will show up, because mostly in the elementary grades, you are supervised, and this kind of nurtured along. But when you get to that middle school, it kind of shows up. So what we do is we put a lot of resources and remediation in middle school, when it actually should be down in the early grades.
Elementary.
Yeah, so I want to look at Head Start programs. I want to look at the K and pre and K program and the early and elementary, make sure that we put in resources there.
Right.
So students can get a good start. Once students get behind, it is so difficult to catch up.
It's next to impossible to catch up. I have family members who have fell behind, and then that's it.
And that's it. And it really goes with them throughout their school, and they miss out on some opportunities when they should be having those things
Right.
early in their lives. So I want to look at that and make sure that we put in the resources, put in the finance and the personnel, so that the students can have. What I find out, and this has a very bearing on some of the communities, is that Liberty County has, and it's probably up now, 67% free and reduced lunch,
Mm-hmm.
which means that there are areas where parents just simply do not have the additional finance to provide the extra things that students need.
Right.
So we need to look at. I hope that being elected, I can form a consortium of different people from businesses, from banks, and from the community, where we can look at those particular things which are challenging to students, and provide some resources for them, because parents just don't have it. It's not that they don't want to do for the students, it's just simply they do not have it, both in terms of resources and transportation. And that's the other part I'm looking at when we talk about adding sports to. I'm talking about a little bit later on, adding sports to the middle school. I'm gonna have to talk about that transportation issue, because parents just not able to get their students to and from practices or games. So we're gonna have to look at some interventions there.
Well, it seems like
I'm sorry.
Is that me? Well, I hope not. It seems like transportation is an issue across the board. We just had a political forum yesterday with the Chatham County Board of Education, and they were talking about how transportation is a huge issue, especially, when it comes to summer camps or, extracurricular activities. How do you see Liberty County combating that issue?
It is transportation is a problem, a challenge. I don't want to lose that as a problem, but it's a challenge, because our bus drivers are not, as far as their income, not substantial enough to really do some of the things of keep them employed. And we are behind other these counties and pay for bus drivers. So I want to take a look at that, add incentives where we can, add salaries where we can, and I'm not opposed to having monitors on the bus. There's so much traffic out there now with the businesses and with particularly in Liberty County with so many transportation trucks on the road. It takes full time for the bus driver, and we've done amazingly well to stay out of accidents.
Mhm.
The supervisors have done a great job there, but it's full time and for the driver to concentrate on driving. I would like to have monitors on the bus so they can assist. We're talking about safety of the students, both, and there's no commodity that is more precious than getting students to and from school. So we're talking about safety issues, and I believe someone on the bus giving assistance to the driver, identifying problems area, and helping to direct the students would be a benefit. So that's something we want to look at, both look at salary and look at giving the driver some assistance in terms of helping to monitor the student.
Right, right, and definitely making sure that those bus drivers get, you know, adequately compensated for their time so they can support and do the things that they need to do. Um, so I know that we were talking about elementary school. We talked about the, you know, some of the issues that you plan on combating with the school board. Before we wrap up, let's talk about this reading and math program that you have. But yeah.
Well, this is what I would like for the professional staff to look at. As a board member, I don't want to micromanage. I want the professional staff to identify the areas where we're done extremely well and those areas where we are not doing well, and to look at those and then bring those to us and so we can prioritize. And once you prioritize, then you know what needs the most attention first, and you just simply go down the line to meet your list of priorities. And we have professional people who can do that. So we want to take a look at that, and of course, the board has the responsibility of making sure that we look at funding and every sense of the word, and of course, then I want to look at bringing a group, or I call it a consortium group, to really give us advice on every aspect of the community, and then we can make some better choices as to where we go get funding, who has the possibility of giving us a hand and giving grants and those type of things to help along with some of the situations that we are having challenges in. That's what I would like to take a look at. Um, Now, and I want to go on with my seniors, 'cause that's my other aspect.
Mhm.
Of, I think we have seniors now, and if you ask a student, a senior student, in most part, what are they going to do when they finish school? So many of them, the answer is, I don't know. Um,
Yeah, I
and
didn't
it,
know when I graduated.
and after 12 years of school, we ought to know what they're going to do. We have to start early. We can't wait until a student reach the high school before we start working on their careers. We
Right.
have to do aptitude tests. We have to start in the high elementary and work through the middle school. But we can look at aptitude, what the student is good at, what they're skilled at, and match those up with interest, and have that as a follow through for students as they go through their high school career.
Let me
Um,
ask you a question. I don't mean to cut you off, but what do you think about vocational training inside of middle and high schools?
um, we have now initiated in the past few years um, some areas where students can get get into courses to develop interest, and that's good. And then what we need to do is expand off of those offerings to make sure that we have the student in the area that they feel very comfortable in and then can do well in. That's where the interest may be, and also that's where the aptitude. We know they have the skill to do those areas, do that work in those areas. So that's what I'm all for that. Um, when I go back and look at schooling, when I came along, we had what we call comprehensive high school.
Mhm.
And comprehensive high school were those schools where the academics and the vocation courses were on the same campus. Now, Liberty County has tried to rectify that, and with the Career Academy, they've added courses, and then Ms. Young has done a marvelous job over there trying to look at um, the entrepreneurship program, apprenticeship program,
Yeah.
internship programs, and I think this is one of the areas. Well, let go back a little bit. When I retired, um, I had a group. We have had a collaboration group,
Mhm.
and of course, Ms. Newman was part of that group. We looked at students in entrepreneurship. First of all, we had sessions at different churches in the community to rotate it around to make it easier for parents to attend. We want to develop an interest with the parents so they can know exactly where to go to get what they need from the schools. And then we start looking at our entrepreneurship program. And that's one thing I would like to expand with the students. We and it just
Yeah.
a good option for students. And I remember my experience when I finished high school. I went into an apprenticeship program to learn how to set towel. And even when I went back into the profession, I could take my weekend and I could put up bathrooms and supplement my income. So it's a lot you can do with the entrepreneurship program. And of course, I'd like to see some of those young people own their own businesses. So that's something I would like to continue. We
Yeah.
have educators and ministers working with us in that program, and I'd like to continue that aspect of the program.
Yeah, it's very important. I'm from Detroit, and we have magnet schools that work on engineering or performing arts or science and technology. And my brother actually graduated from one of those schools, and when he graduated, he got his refrigeration repair certification and things like that, and that's been able to carry him a pretty decent and steady income for his life, and so I think that those type of opportunities for students whose, college may not be the trajectory for them is really great to come out with a skill that they can learn and that they can, expand on and build and maybe grow into their own profession or own business.
It is. It's a good opportunity, and you don't have to worry about income because so many of those areas are high-paying jobs, and sometimes we don't have the people skilled enough to go into those jobs. I like to expand the career center. I'm looking to add more students there, and we're gonna have to expand that program. We were just talking some time ago, barbering. We'd like to have a barber shop over there. They added barbering to the program, and if we can get say a barber shop there, that would be something that would be nice for students to be able to
Absolutely.
have. So those kinds of things we'll look at. Another thing really want to look at is having students visit different areas. We can have, if we can work it such that they can travel on a weekend, maybe bi-monthly. We have trips to different locations, so young people can see options, see what's going on out there in the world. Some students never get a chance to do that until they finish school. So we can incorporate some of that into the students now, provide the transportation for them on a periodic basis to I call it exploration.
Well, if you need
to
help
exploration.
creating an HBCU tour, let me know.
It's just an opportunity for students to learn about what's going on in different areas, and I think too that would also develop some interest, and of course some knowledge of what might be a good option for students. So I would like to see if we can do that. We have to look at costs and look at all the logistics of it, but I think it'd be well worth for students to get that, to have that opportunity to explore.
Yeah, that would be awesome. You have a fan, Henry Peterson, said that you were their middle school teacher. So good luck to you. And since we're about to wrap up, Dr. Kelly, is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
Let me talk about two things that's very important. It's going to take a whole lot of collaboration.
Okay.
I want the sixth grade into programs by themselves, and we could if students are not ready for middle school, we can do a lot of work on an individualized basis there with those students if they are not if we have them into a facility by themselves, and I think that would help. The other aspect of I would like to do the same thing for ninth grade students and put them into facilities by themselves, because a lot of the discipline problems, a lot of the social issues, we can address those. Plus the fact we can make sure that the ninth grade student is in the actual program that they want to pursue, and that's going to convert our high schools into high school into 10th, 11th, and 12th grade by isolating those ninth grade. I think we can do a lot of work. And I suspect if we do that, we can cut back on 90% of the district problem, because now we have students up to where they ought to be. They can meet the teacher's demand, whatever expected expectation. Let me say expectation, not demand. Expectations, and they won't be behind in their programs. And I think a lot of students misbehave because they do not understand what's the issues that they're being instructed at the point in time, and they find other things to get their attention. So
do you think
I think if we can do that,
is it going to be a problem when they train the 10th?
I don't think. I think once we look at all the logistics and make sure that people, I want to be transparent to everybody. That's one of the things I would like to do, make sure we are transparent, letting parents know what's good and things we need to do, and let them see our prioritizing list. And then I think once we look at it and look at all the aspect of it, the positive things about those doing those particular procedures, I think we can get the cooperation. One of the things that I'm going back to the sports again. In middle school, they want to add soccer, baseball, and softball, and I think we can do those kinds of things. Now, and here's the part though: if we have parents who are who have financial constraints, we're going to have to be able. The community is going to have to play a very important part. Community and churches, and perhaps we can do some transportation with the buses, with the churches, work with the schools and transportation, and getting students to and from their activities. So, and I think sports are good. It teaches a young person to discipline, for self-discipline, to take instruction, to be able to look at criticism and take it positive and develop from that. Look at winning and losing gracefully and learning from those experiences and improving themselves. So it's a lot to learn in sports, and it's a good program for students to grow and add that to their academics. So I think it's well worth the attention of all in administration to look at it and make sure that we can work out the logistics and work with communities and get those students involved. I would hate for students to miss out. So we're going to have to really work with the communities and make sure that we have transportation in those areas where we need the transportation to get students to practices and to competition. So it's some work that we have to do there.
Well, definitely, I wish you the best with that. I think that is important for someone. I have a 10-year-old son, and I know how important sports are in his life and how it's helped him build good sportsmanship, good teamwork, discipline, all of it. You know, just having a coach drill him if they make a mistake, run, do suicides, all of that. It's improved who he is. So I'm grateful to sports.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. When I was coaching, I knew I had to provide. I knew there's some students who were not going to be there, and I made it my personal business to pick up students and take them home. It was late when I got home at night and getting students back to their particular home base, and I think that was then, and of course we still have some of that transportation problem now. So I'll make sure that we look at and provide the opportunity for students to enjoy themselves. School's supposed to be an enjoyable time.
Right.
So, and then learning and everything. So we want to make sure that we provide every opportunity for students to do their best.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Kelly. I appreciate you joining us on the Inner Circle. Best of luck to you in your campaign. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And